In this video, I will be talking about why shadow work is crucial. It's key to healing your ego. Hi, my name is Martina. I'm a coach and a family constellations therapy facilitator, and I help spiritual people heal and integrate their ego through systemic coaching. Now, I first of all, I want to tell you why this topic is so freaking important and why I also love it. It's because this is the way I live. I think recently, in the past year, I've realized what it even means to do the shadow work. And that's what I've been doing for the past, since I was 18, 14? Is it 14 years? Yeah, it's 14 years. So yeah, this is something that, like, this is what I do in my daily life. This is how I live. And I think it's, one of the most important things. Because shadow work is about, being aware of your actions, being aware of or becoming aware of where they come from, and really being brutally honest with yourself. And that's something I became very, very good at. And I think that's a quality that is super important for becoming the best version of yourself, for the healing, and definitely for integration. And of course, this is also something that my clients struggle with. It's not easy. That's why you work with someone. Because and someone you trust. This is very important. So not only that you trust them, but that you trust their judgment, because other people, of course, can. That's why we are so fast to say, "Oh, you're doing this" or "you're doing that," or noticing when someone is doing something that bothers us, and not really seeing something in ourselves. It's because, yeah, it's easier for people to notice something in someone else. But that part of our nature, human nature, is also something that really helps us in the healing journey. Because when you work with someone, it doesn't matter if it's a therapist, if it's a coach, if it's both, if it's, it doesn't really matter, a guru or whatever, but for someone that not only you trust, but that you trust their judgment, that's crucial in doing the shadow work, because that person will always be able to tell you something that you're probably not aware of. And when you know this person and when you trust them, you don't have to you go through a process of internally of seeing if that is true for you, of course. And this is also another thing. I will do a video about this, the difference between belief, like when somebody holds a belief, whatever comes from a belief is not really a good place, because that's something that was not questioned, and it's very how do you say, yeah, it categorizes things in black and white, and it's really, yeah, it's not really the best place to live your life from, or at least for me, that's not the place from which I want to live my life, the belief. But yeah, when you have someone that can actually reflect something back to you, and you trust that person's judgment, then you can take for granted that they are clean enough as a channel to be able to actually listen to you and reflect you back to you. So not project something of theirs onto you, but actually to reflect back something that is inside of you that maybe you would want to look into and, you know, become aware of. And yeah, I mean, I'm like right now I'm in this situation in which I really, like lately in the past 2 months or so, life has been really like you know, grilling me with a lot of people's opinions on me coming in, and, you know, like people having also all sorts of opinions, even accusing me of stuff, and, you know, actually things happening that are not really the norm in my life, and that are pretty, like, it almost feels like it's so absurd that this cannot be normal, you know, something's going on. And yeah, I've learned when things like that happen, it's like I would say in my life I am 100% sure that, you know, it's something, it's the universe sending a certain message. It's not really you know, about who's wrong or who's right, or, you know, it's more about seeing the situation for what it is. Yeah, I would say that, like, when things become so absurd that you're kind of like, what's going on? I don't even understand how this is possibly going on. When things happen like that, it's like time for you to take a step back and look into yourself, and not look into only where you were wrong, but what is actually happening, what could be actually happening for the things to become so, like, you know, out of normal. Actually, I had a situation, it always reminds me, because this was probably the first situation when I realized, like, oh, this cannot be happening. Actually, I was this is very personal, I was in a relationship with a woman who was, to say the least, very special. And I mean, I knew that something was off about her, like, from the beginning, but I just, like, I'm just a sucker for emotions, and, like, when it was like this in my life, my whole life, up until, well, not so long ago. When I would fall in love, that would be it, like, that's it. And I just go for it, because, I mean, you know, it's something, it's for me, it opened up, meaning it's for me. And sure, it was, but it happened, well, anyway, that one day, so we were kind of like, I was living in her place, and then, you know, sometimes she would be at mine, and stuff like that, and we were quite, like, serious in the relationship, even though we were not together for a long time. And then one day it was this absurd scene where at the time we didn't have any money, and she had some you know, spare food, or like stored food, and I asked her if I can take a can of tuna, and she had like 8 or I don't know 10 cans of tuna, and I took 2, and I went home, because I was leaving at that point. No, I was leaving her house, and I asked for her to take the food. And I came home, and it would be normal for us to text and to at least like check in the evening or something. Nothing. And in the morning I thought, well, this is really strange. Like, now we haven't spoken, you know, since I left the day before. And I sent her a message saying like, hey, you know, it's how are you? What you up to? and she wrote to me, "I don't want to speak to you ever again." And I was like, what? Like this never ever ever happened in my life. You know, like we are in a relation, like how do you even talk to people like this? Like what could have possibly happened for you to, you know, say something like what? I'm not even aware of what did I do. So I mean, if it's this bad, I should be aware of it, you know? And I'm like, what happened? And she says, you said you would take a can of tuna, one, and you took two. And I just sat back and I thought, wow, this is so, like, this is not out of the normal. Like, this is Mars for me. So I was like, okay, well, you know, okay, it's like a pattern interrupt, you know? It's like a pattern interrupt. It's like something happens that is so out of normal, that is so absurd, that is so atypical in your life that kind of it slaps you, you know? It's so attention grabbing that you say, wait, what's going on? And what I've learned in my life, this was 2021. And that was the first time that I remember consciously thinking, okay, well, this just happened and it's so out of normal that it's not the point, like this is not the point. I'm not gonna get into the fact that I freaking took 2 cans of tuna or it's like, this is absurd. I'm not even having this conversation. I'm gonna look into myself and I'm gonna look into what is really happening, because there is something really happening that universe really wants me to see that I was not seeing. And that's what also this period feels like. And that's what I think that's how it works. Like when universe wants to grab your attention and point at something that you need to see and that you need to look at, and take your attention away from, you know, the details of the situation of like, oh, but you said this and I did that, and it's like, it doesn't really matter. It's like, zoom out, look at the bigger picture. Can you see what's happening here? It's like literally telling you that. And situations like this really happen. Like in situations like this, the shadow work is, oh my god, like it's so freaking crucial, because in that situation you can probably be the most realistic about yourself, about your values, about your beliefs, about your shortcomings, about what you're putting actually in the world in terms of, you know, energy, in terms of intention, in terms of feelings, in terms of thoughts, in terms of action, of course, in terms of how you treat other people, in terms of expectations, and what you're getting back, and how you perceive what you get back. And this is, I think, shadow work is about becoming aware of actions, thoughts, feelings, and all the things that I just mentioned that we were unaware of, that we were suppressing, and that we actually need to confront and integrate, and that come from our fear, from the insecurities, and from sheer not accepting parts of ourselves, or like disowning parts of ourselves. So I think doing shadow work in situations like this is crucial, because it almost, this is for the people that, you know, have the background of being people pleasers, having problems with anxiety, you know, being spiritual and being more inclined in that direction. like, you are probably in any given situation in your life, you are probably selling yourself short because you have such a low sense of worth that you don't even see how valuable you are or how worthy you are, you know? So I think doing the shadow work in situations like this is actually balancing out, because it gives you kind of a clearer vision, because it's literally, as I explained, it's like a situation in which you are kind of like, wait, what? So you're like, it's all so absurd that it kind of takes you out of your normal, you know, state of like, well, you know, this is my identity and this is who I've always been, and I know that I have problem with this and with that, and this is like, no, I'm gonna take you out. Now look at what's going on. And you're like, shit, well, this is something that I need to look at, and this is something that I need to look at. For example, in the situation that I explained to you before, I realized that this person is a narcissist, and actually that person possibly also a psychopath, but I'm sure that she was a narcissist. And I've realized that I knew, being with her, I knew exactly, like I knew in my body the phases, you know, stages that, or actually, how do you say that? Like in a when you have a relationship with a narcissist, there is like a cycle that repeats itself, and there are things in that cycle, like stages in that cycle, that are always the same. So there is love bombing and blah blah, and you know, in the end there is the they discard you, and then they want to get you back in. And I knew in my body exactly what, you know, what stage we are in, what is going to happen next. And you know, I knew this cycle by heart, and I realized, sure, I know it because of my childhood. I went through that first of all with my brother, and also with my mom. So like I knew these phases by heart. So this is why I was so comfortable in the relationship with her, even though it's not the person for me. I knew from the beginning that that was not the person for me, but I still went into the relationship, and on a certain level it felt good because it felt familiar. And this is why it felt familiar. And I never before I thought about narcissism. Actually, I never had a realization about narcissism up until that point. I heard about it, I talked about it with people. I was kind of like connecting on a mental level, but I never felt it. I never had a realization about it. And in that moment, I had a realization of like, fuck, she's a narcissist. And this is what it sounds like, this is what it feels like, that's why I know it, this and this and this and this. And like, I had a list of all the people who were narcissists in my life, and you know, one of a sudden it all made sense. But also I realized, okay, wait, but this is, and it's not like to give yourself a sense of guilt. It's about becoming aware. Shadow work is always about becoming aware. It's not about feeling shitty about yourself or thinking that you are guilty because you did this or you did that. No. I realized that the way I was behaving, and I was behaving like this because of how I grew up. So I learned how to behave when I was living in my family home. And these are the behaviors that I continued having, and these are the exact behaviors that were attracting narcissists. So of course, sure, there is a victim in that, but there is also the perpetrator, or like there is, for example, one of the things is codependency. One of the things is people pleasing or making myself a victim, or and these are things that I needed to see, that I needed to become aware of, that I needed to confront, and that I needed to take responsibility of. Like, I needed to hold myself accountable for my part that I was bringing into that relationship, or as a matter of fact, any other relationship that didn't work, romantic or not romantic. So, but you see, like, it makes you, this kind of situation, that's why I'm saying that, like, doing shadow work is super important, always, every day. But for people who come from the anxious background, and this is most of the people who are spiritual people, I will say a lot of them come from the anxious background, so they also, a lot of them has anxious attachment styles, and doing shadow work in those moments when things get so absurd will probably give you a much, much clearer idea on what's really going on, like what is really going on in this whole situation, what is going on from the part of the person that is involved in the situation. There is also always someone involved, or more people, and what's going on from your side. So what in you made this happen, and then literally just become aware. And by becoming aware, this is like, becoming aware is literally, like, I would say like 70% of the work, maybe 60, but becoming aware is super, super, super important. The integration and the implementation, I mean, sure. I honestly think, like, it's best to have, I had coaches, I had therapists, I have therapists, I do family constellations, I have actually, I work with a facilitator, that those things help me see my things, in, like, see things that I'm not seeing. And I worked on this a lot in my life. I'm brutally honest with myself, and I do this every day. I do this constantly, and I still have people in my life that, really, I mean, people that I work with. So I'm not talking about friends and family, I'm talking about people who are in my life with this purpose, and with this intention to bring to my awareness things that I'm not aware of, or that I'm struggling to see. And like, when it comes to integration and implementation, I think it's much, 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 much easier to have, support when it comes to that. And I mean, that's also why I have my program. I created a program that lasts 6 months, that offers not only family constellations therapy, but also the integration and the implementation part, because I think it's really important in that whole process. Once you become aware, and with family constellations, it's really like the part of getting, bringing something to awareness and like realizing something is very easy, because family constellations is like watching a theater play. And once you see that, once you see what's going on in your life, then the integration part and the implementation part are like, if you have support during that, it's done. It's done. Like, there is no, nothing is left. Nothing is left with like, oh, maybe it will happen and maybe it won't. No, it's happening. This is it. That's it. It's that simple. And that's why, like, I know that, it's not for everyone. Nothing is for everyone. Some people, this works for some people, and for some, I understand. But that's why I created the single session. Like, if you are not sure, if this could be for you or not, or whatever. If you are then you can check it out. I will leave the link in the description, and yeah, you can book a single session and get a feeling of what it means to do systemic coaching. And you know, I would really recommend it for whoever is interested. I would really recommend it. It changed my life. That's why I'm doing it. And I'm doing it because I really want to. I think this is like the best, the easiest, and you know, most guaranteed way that you are actually going to get where you want to get, which is to, you know, to heal and to integrate and to, you know, get to a higher level of awareness. So yeah, I hope this gave you some information, and I see you in the next video. Bye.